Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Venus Green and I'm so grateful to have you here with us today. Whether you are a returning subscriber or this is your very first time watching, we want to say thank you so much for being a part of this space where we are exploring astrology with depth, soul, and a little bit of practical magic. Also, a big thank you to everyone who's been liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing these videos. Your support really does help other people find this content, and it also truly means the world to me. So thank you so much for that. If you haven't already, would love for you to go ahead and hit the like button, maybe to also subscribe with notifications turned on so that you won't miss any uploads. Thank you so much for your patience there. Today we're going to be diving into one of the most powerful transits of the year. This is Jupiter's move into Cancer. Begins on June 9th of 2025 and it's going to last all the way through June of next year, 2026. Jupiter is the planet of growth, wisdom, and blessings, also expansion. Cancer is one of the signs where Jupiter is really strongest. So when these two planets meet, it's like something really beautiful and meaningful begins to unfold. Now, today we're going to be looking at Jupiter's 12-month cycle in the sign of Cancer. Now, if you are newer to astrology, don't worry, we're going to talk about what all of this means, but boil it down to when a planet like Jupiter changes signs, it really shifts the emotional and the spiritual tone for the year ahead. So this starts that 12-month cycle. And it's on the collective level, but also on the personal level. So Jupiter only visits each sign once every 12 years. So this isn't like a weekly forecast, right? This is a rare window of opportunity because you're not going to have Jupiter back in this part of your chart for 12 more years. So you can think of this video as kind of like your roadmap. We are going to guide you through the energy that's kicking off this next chapter, which will be the Ingress Chart. Then we are going to also be looking at the stationary retrograde chart and then the stationary direct chart. So all planets have a retrograde cycle, and Jupiter retrogrades once a year. So he is going to be moving backward. And we're going to look at all of those to see how we can make some sort of real life estimations for what we can expect to unfold in and around our lives. Of course, and as always, this is collective guidance. So if you are looking for a reading based on your personal birth chart, you can find me at venus'sgreenspot.com. Love to help you there. And you can look under the services section for what is available for the remainder of the year. All right, let's get into it. So what does Jupiter and Cancer have in store from now until next year in June? All right, so Jupiter officially enters Cancer on the 9th, and this is a major energetic shift. So over the next 12 months, this transit really invites us to return to the heart. That's collectively and personally. Cancer is ruled by the moon. So when Jupiter travels through this sign, everything becomes more emotionally charged, more nurturing, and it's tied to our past and or some sort of sense of safety. But Jupiter in Cancer doesn't just amplify the feelings, right? It also helps us to grow through some sort of emotional intelligence. Family roots, also through being, reconnecting with our ancestry, and just finding belonging in our life. We are really being asked to grow not through any sort of ambition, but through connection, care, and inner truth. So what Jupiter really wants us to understand while he's in the sign of Cancer, and to be leaning into would be one, emotional fluency, right? Being able to articulate how you feel and why it is that you feel that way. And doing that on a regular basis, not feeling guilty about it, and also not feeling like, you need to over-explain yourself. It's a returning to our roots. So there will be family healing that's going on. There'll be some sort of generational closures that are happening. And there'll also be some sort of reconnection to our ancestry as well. Some of us are going to be looking at redefining success, right? Because you want your success to feel like home, right? And sometimes when we've had a picture of success in our head, certain goals set, achieving that, or, you know, even nearing it sometimes gives us this sense of it's not really what we thought it was going to be, right? And that's and so again, we'll be looking at sort of redefining that. How does that look differently in our life going forward? Some of us are going to be looking for finding some safe containers for growth, and what I mean by that would be, think like nurturing environments, right? Like a greenhouse or something. Maybe spending time and being around a chosen family rather than your biological family, right? Because there is, it's a container, or it's a place where you feel safe to grow and morph into your new self, right? It can also just be homes that really reflect your inner peace, right? Cancer governs things like land, food, motherhood. It's also about caregiving. And so we're very likely to see an expansion, possibly even some sort of reform in how these things are handled on a global level. And so this might look like, for instance, how we care for our families, right? And here I'm thinking not, you know, just the very young, but also probably the elderly as well. Likely to see changes in our food system. There can also be a real renewed focus on things like land safety and our collective sense of home, right? So here I'm thinking like, you know, the land of our country. It's important to note that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So that means that it operates with dignity and strength here. So this transit is really helping us to access our intuitive wisdom, get in touch with our emotional generosity, and it's helping us find some purpose through legacy and care. So for anybody who has been feeling really disconnected from your intuition or maybe from your roots, this transit is going to offer you that really beautiful reconnection point to get back in touch with those things. All right, let's take a little bit deeper dive into this Ingress chart here in terms of what aspects are happening. So the very first thing up we have is the moon, which is at 3 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, this adds a sense of hope, freedom, and future vision to the emotional tone that's taking on this new cycle. So there's this desire to believe in something that is bigger than our current reality. And it supports emotional risk-taking, especially if it brings us closer to truth or adventure. Now, next up, we have Mercury, which is conjunct Jupiter here around the 1 o'clock position of the chart. And this is kind of an important signature here because it suggests that emotional communication, intuitive thinking, and conversations about safety, family, or just belonging in general are going to be amplified around this time and throughout the cycle. It's a great year for really learning through the heart, right? Not just using, books, logic, and the brain. Now we do have a little bit of tension here with this Pluto that is square Venus in Taurus. So this is a powerful aspect that really brings up some questions around things like control, attachment, and what we value, especially in terms of love or money. Now we might see some kind of collective reckoning around the financial system around this time, during this time, maybe with our resources, and definitely most likely with our relationship dynamics as well, right? This is intense, but it can also bring some deep transformation if we're really willing to confront those things that have been hidden, or maybe we've just been resistant to change. And then lastly, next we have this Saturn and Neptune conjunction. Now this is one that we have already discussed in terms of having a whole separate video for, but so it's kind of background note, if you will, but it's blending structure with spirituality, boundaries with dreams, and throughout this year ahead, while Jupiter's moving through Cancer, kind of stresses that point that we're really being asked to build something real from our spiritual ideals, or to face the illusions that have that we have allowed to keep us stuck. Now, this energy is going to add some gravity and some depth to that emotional growth that Jupiter in Cancer is offering here. Then we have this really beautiful trine between Chiron, which is in Aries, and Mars up in Leo. Well, these are two fire signs, and they both want action, but they also want healing. Well, this energy encourages us to move with purpose, especially in the areas where we've really felt like disempowered lately. If you have felt hesitant to move forward, speak up, assert yourself in some way, maybe some past wounds are sort of keeping you held back from that. This is going to be the aspect that says it's time to take a look at that and also try to do our best to walk through it for some healing. Mars is going to give you the courage there, and Chiron's going to give you that context. Together, they are going to offer that healing through some kind of empowered action that you take. Well, there's also Mercury square Neptune, and there's also this square from Mercury to Neptune that really suggests that truth that's coming at us or out around this time is probably likely to be very elusive at first. We're probably going to feel like we have to really get a feeling for it before we can understand what it means. But what really, I think, lifts this chart up is this grand trine. Now, if you take a look here, a grand trine, and then there is this creation of a kite formation by this secondary sort of wedge at the bottom, and that's made by that Pluto aspect. So let's talk about the shape that this chart really creates, because astrologers look for patterns in the sky, and certainly these are ones that stand out, right? A grand trine, something you've probably heard a lot of astrologers say. It's when three planets are forming this triangle of support, all in the same element usually. And in this case, it happens to be fire. So it's this flow of energy that feels natural and bold, like the universe is really giving you a green light and saying, sure, go ahead. And then when you add that fourth planet down here at the very bottom, it creates that wedge, and then it becomes a kite. So that turns that flow of energy into something more focused and purposeful, and gives you direction, right? Kites are about potential rising to meet destiny. And we have that grand trine, which is first formed by the moon, Saturn, Neptune in the midheaven. So the trine is connecting things like intuition, discipline, and purpose, all of that creating this dynamic for a foundation that's going to support bold, expressive movement as you go forward through this cycle. Fire energy is about vision, courage, and initiative. And in this formation here in the sky, it literally is supporting your leap forward. In astrology, when we see a grand trine, we think of things like ease and flow. But when it's a fire sign, or when they're all fire signs, that flow is more motivational. It speaks to soul momentum. It's the courage to act on your inner calling, to speak your truth, maybe lead in some way against your or for your purpose. All right, and then it gets a little bit deeper too, because that conjunction, of course, to Neptune with Saturn, Saturn conjunct Neptune there. Again, that's sort of a background note, but it's playing out over this entire cycle. It's not a small thing. Together, they're really speaking to building of dreams into reality. And again, we spoke more about that in its own separate video, but it's also the dissolving of the structures that no longer align with your soul's truth. And why? Because we must first acknowledge and allow structures to be dissolved before we can, recognize that, building something new in place of that, right? It's sort of that release point. This conjunction, right, is active, and this Jupiter cycle is carrying this deep invitation for us to begin to merge our spiritual vision into our real world everyday responsibilities, right? Make those things one and the same. It wants you to align your highest ideals with the way that you actually live and serve. And then, of course, that opposition from Pluto to the MC makes that kite formation, and that opposition creates the tension and the focus that's needed, right? Pluto here at the base of the kite becomes that engine, and it's pushing that energy upward. The kite then is like this cosmic slingshot. It turns the smooth potential into this sort of high impact transformation. Pluto here says you're not growing, you are, you're moving, you're being called, if you will, upward towards something that has meaning way beyond yourself. Now, the Ingress chart is the signature, it's like the birth signature or the natal chart, if you will, of that Jupiter journey through Cancer, that entire 12-month cycle. So during that time, it's going to be powered by, or he's going to be powered by, emotional courage and creative leadership and some soul evolution. And it's going to be asking all of us to figure out what kind of legacy are we shaping, right? And are we really ready to lead or defend that legacy from our heart, right? Because this is the architecture of real change here, and we all have to be a part of it. All right, so then let's take a look at who is likely to feel this shift the most, certainly, right at the beginning stages of the cycle here. So if you happen to have placements between 0 and 5 degrees of the water signs, so Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Jupiter is activating your sun, moon, or rising at this time, and it's bringing some kind of emotional healing, some kind of home expansion, or some deep soul growth to you. If you have placements between 3 and 5 degrees of the fire signs, air signs, so Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Aquarius, you are part of that grand trine and the kite, right? It's the big energy that supports those bold changes in terms of purpose and creativity. And then lastly, 0 to 2 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Saturn and Neptune, they're sort of reshaping your beliefs, right? It's the old structures that are dissolving and moving away, and new visions are emerging for you. If you happen to be a Scorpio rising at 0 degrees, 0 to 1 degrees, Jupiter is making a trine directly to your ascendant. So that adds a really powerful portal for your soul to get in alignment, right? And find some sort of emotional magnetism. So I would encourage you to delve into that for sure. Okay, and then we have the next chart, which is Jupiter turning or stationing retrograde. All right, so Jupiter is going to station retrograde on November 11th, 25 degrees of Cancer. This is going to mark that time when he begins to slow down and asks all of us to pause, reflect, and realign. Jupiter's retrograde is not about loss, but it can very much feel like sort of the wind got sucked out of our sails, right? It's more a time of sacred review period, right? And all planets have this. Think of it more like an invitation to really deepen your growth by looking inward. What is it that you've learned since June, right? So the Ingress chart begins in June, and then by November, we're going to have this retrograde. So what's working? What needs more heart? What needs more time and emotion from you? So 25 degrees, we're in the late Cancer territory here. So this is about emotional maturity. It's about navigating care and belonging. It's also, asking us to figure out what are the seeds that we've been planting. And then it's going to say, let's take a look at those and which ones are actually taking root. Why? Because the ones that take root are the ones that you've actually been nurturing, right? That you've been feeding and watering and providing enough sunlight. So those are the ones that you want to look for. All right, so let's talk about then the key aspects here. So First up, we have Saturn trine Jupiter. This is about structure supporting expansion, right? Saturn is that structure and Jupiter really wants expansion. Saturn's going to rein him in a little bit though during this time. Now this is a trine, so this is harmonious energy here, but in particular in the retrograde chart, it's really asking us to kind of solidify our emotional goals, right? It wants us to be thinking about what is our long-term living plan. How can we maybe deepen our commitments to either our spiritual practice or maybe just our family, certain family members maybe, right? This is going to be the time, right? This is nice harmonious energy when you're going to feel like, I feel settled, right? Like in a way that I have longed for a really long time. Well, the next aspect that we have is Neptune sextile Uranus. And this is like unusual insights or maybe some sort of psychic downloads that may very well help you to revise your vision in some way for, whatever it is that you kicked off at that Ingress chart. You are, probably going to have some sort of sudden inner clarity that comes about that helps you to resolve something that's been really foggy for a long time, maybe for several years for you. Then we have Chiron making a square to Jupiter, and this one brings some emotion up to the surface. You may realize here where some old wounds are really still shaping your current reality or your current expectations, and it's time to kind of stop allowing that, right? Stop avoiding the pain and just sort that out. And we've also got this Pluto trine Uranus, but also making a sextile to Neptune. Now, these are all really slow burner power moves, right? Because these planets move so slowly, they make change in a very slow sort of way, slow, subtle way. So something subtle here could be kind of reshaping your beliefs, right? Slowly but surely about what it is that's possible within your life, especially around topics like safety, autonomy, your soul purpose, maybe. And then we also have Mercury and Mars in conjunction again over on the top left corner of the chart. So here we can very likely expect to have some bold truths coming out at us, near us, around us, maybe some sharp words. Things are really going to be motivated by action around November 11th. So if there have been any sort of conversations that you have been suppressing, putting off, avoiding, those things might rise to the surface around this time. So outside of the spiritual themes here, this transit might really echo within your relationships, maybe your living space or your personal decisions that are taking course over the next 12 months. But you're really probably going to feel like your goals, you really want them to match your inner needs around this time, right? Like something that you maybe have rushed is going to now need some time for reworking, all right? So what this might look like for some of you is that you are revisiting a family issue that you probably thought was resolved, but now you're seeing it with a little more maturity, right? Maybe a little bit less reactivity. So it's time now where you can either start that conversation, where you can write the letter maybe to open up a conversation that has been long avoided. Some of you might have a home project. Some of you might be moving or just making some decisions altogether around real estate. They're very likely to be delayed or restructured during this time, and this probably could work in your favor in the long term, especially if there are some red flags that have popped up that you've ignored. I often say that sometimes we do ignore the red flags. We just like keep our tunnel vision going forward because the red flags don't actually trip us and make us hit our face, right? So we can just kind of hurdle right over them. But at some point, there's too many of those, right? And you realize you have stretched yourself too thin. And so that's what we're talking about here. Now, for some of you, there is going to be a reconnection with a maternal figure. Maybe it's with an ancestor. Could also be with a part of your emotional lineage, right? Maybe there is a dream, a memory, or some random encounter that brings insight about how it is that you've been shaped, right? Likely from early childhood, and where you're now ready to say, yeah, I don't accept that any longer. I'm going to break that cycle. I'm going to start something new. All right. So something, whatever it is for all of us, right? We have something pop up, spark around the Ingress chart, then it's going to return to us around July or August, right? The only difference is that you have perspective then and the emotional tools to actually choose differently if that is what you believe is best for you. All right, so then the shifts of the retrograde chart the most. Well, if you have placements from personal placements from 23 to 27 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, you're looking at dealing with some emotional checkpoints during this time, right? You are revisiting something that you thought was completed, right? It's about emotional growth, and it might likely require you to get a little bit deeper into your roots, possibly set some better boundaries for yourself. If you have personal placements between 23 and 27 degrees of Aries or Capricorn, you are hitting some healing pressure points around this time. So if you have felt like you have been really stretched thin, this is going to be the time when it's revealed to you why, right? And you're going to be expected to kind of confront that old coping strategy for something to put in its place, something new to put in its place, right? Reality versus vision, right? Remember that Saturn is trine Jupiter. Chiron is also square Jupiter. So there's a little bit of tension between what it is that you're dreaming of and what's actually going to work. So use that retrograde time to heal those blind spots that you have and really refine your purpose. All right, so then last chart we have is Jupiter turning direct. So this is where we come to the other side of the journey, basically. Jupiter stations direct on March 10th, 2026, 15 degrees of Cancer. So this is that moment when the tide's going to turn again. We've had 4 months now by this time of emotional integration and some kind of soul deepening revision. We're going to be ready to move forward with clarity, confidence, and some sort of conviction about what it is that truly nourishes us. Jupiter going direct in Cancer really says, lead with care, let your inner foundation be that springboard, and don't even think about or look at the limitations. So this is a powerful turning point, not only for our personal growth, but also for really recommitting to what it is that you value at the core. Now, if we take a look at some of the aspects happening during this chart, during this stationary direct, we've got first Jupiter trine Mercury. This is the heart and the mind being aligned, and it's a really wonderful time for some breakthroughs in our communication with emotional intelligence or spiritual insight. Your words are very likely to carry more meaning during this time, and your thoughts are probably going to feel like they're landing exactly where they belong, right? Exactly what you intended. Now we also have here Saturn Neptune conjunction. So here we are building a new spiritual structure, right? Again, it's just a reminder because we've already talked at length about this, but It's long game energy here that's asking us, what does the responsibility look like when you are guided by your higher vision, right? That conjunction marks that start of new boundaries and belief systems that feel like they're more authentic and aligned with where the world is heading. Now we've got Pluto making a sextile to both Venus and Saturn. Real sort of sustainable transformation is possible in love, values, and finances with this type of transit. These are really quiet, but also serious upgrades that generally are happening. They're opportunities to build intimacy and long-term security. Often they come through some kind of a change in power dynamics or deepening the emotional honesty in the relationships, if you will. Now we have North Node conjunct Mars and Pisces, and this is where action meets destiny. So this can really feel like there's an intuitive push or even a divinely timed event that's happening around this time. So you might feel called to serve, maybe to step up, to do something that's greater than yourself, or maybe act on behalf of someone else in need. And then we have the sun square the moon. Internal versus external, right? In terms of conversation. So you might feel this tension between your public role and your private needs, but there's definitely wisdom in there in both of those. So this square can really highlight that need to tell the truth about your capacity. All right, so let's talk about how this might actually show up in your life. And with Jupiter's retrograde, that was sort of like going into the cocoon, right? There now is this station direct, and that's the emergence. But you're not really stepping out in the same place, right? The same person as you were. You're showing up now with more heart, with more discernment, and a clearer connection to what it is that matters. So between March and May of 2026, you might very well get clear on, your life direction overall. Things that you have been mulling over for months. Maybe it has to do with a move. Maybe it has to do with a new job. Maybe it's a family decision. Whatever it is, now it's going to feel like it's really aligned emotionally, but also practically. Well, then there is also the opportunity for some creative or possibly spiritual project that begins to really flow again, especially if those were stalled out during that retrograde period. You're probably going to get some sort of a confirmation that your inner voice, right, is telling you, you really were right all along. Some of you are going to be working on either repairing or possibly deepening a relationship. This is very likely thanks to a conversation, or maybe it's an event that pulls everyone together and kind of on the same page. You can think of this as like an honest sort of confession taking place. Maybe there are some compassionate boundaries that are reset within the family or other relationships. It could also just be like, here's this emotional click, right? We all sort of get it now, right? And that had been missing before. For some of you, you might be building a new emotional container. And here again, I'm thinking those safe spaces for growth that we talked about around that Ingress chart. So maybe it's a home, maybe it's a business, could be something in your community, right? Maybe it's a practice even, but that thing is going to become a sacred space for growth for you. And then finally, this one is a little more specific. Some of you are going to be working on healing a mother wound or a care pattern. This is where you're going to start to feel the shift. Maybe for the first time, you are going to stop over giving, right? If that's something that you recognize and that you're willing to work through. For others of you, it's going to be allowing support to come in when it's offered, right? Many of us don't do that. Or if we do it, we carry some sort of guilt about having to have others help us, which isn't necessary, right? Our loved ones wouldn't be helping us if they didn't want to. Okay, so Then let's talk about who might be feeling this the most. If you have personal placements around 13 to 17 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, this is green light energy for you. Jupiter's really, he's going direct and he's acting like, hey, here it is, come get it, right? Growth is going to resume for you. You're probably going to receive some kind of clarity. Maybe it's validation. Some sort of long-awaited opportunity is coming your way. Now, in terms of relationships, money, values, those things are going to be getting serious. And with this Saturn-Venus conjunction here, things that last are, they are aligned with you, right? It's part of that emerging identity that you've been creating. So trust that. And then certainly it's going to feel like we have some divine timing moments with that Jupiter trine Mercury. Now, conversations, maybe it's some sort of inner revelation that you have, but your inner and your outer worlds are going to be syncing up around this time. And it's going to be important for you to just trust that what feels like it's true and timely is intended for you, because it is. All right, so that is Jupiter in Cancer. It's a year to come back to ourselves, to grow what matters, and to really remember that wholeness isn't a goal, right? It's part of our origin. It's who we are. It's just reconnecting all of the dots. Now, before we wrap up here, I do just want to sort of come full circle and just talk about what does this cycle look like? Jupiter in Cancer's transit. It's activating, your personal chart somewhere. It's activating everybody's, right? So take a look. Definitely know your personal placements, and if Jupiter is hitting any of those. I highlighted those in the slides before, so you can take some snapshots of those if you need to. But this is really sort of starting out with the ingress is sort of that emotional launch and that purpose that's rising up within us, right? It's the thing that we're going to be working on for the next 12 months. Then we're going to move into that shadow period come late fall. And that's going to be helping us understand where we might still need some healing, where we might still need to be doing some level of soul review, right? To understand what's happening and how we can best move forward once Jupiter goes direct again. And then in that direct cycle, we're going to feel like we have some aligned growth and we're reaching some kind of sacred renewal in that last part of the transit forward there. So, all right, this is everything I have for you. We are now going to move into the rising sign detail. All right, for Aries and Aries rising, for you, expansion is happening through the home, family, and emotional foundations because you've got Jupiter transiting the 4th house here. So home's not just a place, it's the story that you're building from the ground up for the next 12 months. Jupiter's lighting up your 4th house of home, family, roots, and real estate. One of the most personal and foundational areas of our chart is the 4th house. So this means big growth happens from the inside out this year. Now, you might be looking at a move or possibly renovating, right? Maybe you are buying some property. You could also be making some major changes within your living space. Even if you're renting, this could be the year where you find that place that finally feels like home to you. Some of you are going to be doing some family expansion. So it could be that you're having a child. Some of you could be moving in or moving out of your current place. Could also be some sort of long-standing family dynamics that start to make some shifts. This might mean that you are reconnecting with some kind of maybe estranged family member or members. You might also just be taking on some kind of a caregiver role in this area. Some of you also are going to be healing from the past. Now, Jupiter brings some opportunities to break some generational patterns if that's something that you have been thinking about, has been on your mind, right? If you've been working through some kind of a childhood wound or some kind of family expectations, this is very likely to be the year that you gain insight and maybe create some kind of emotional distance from that old story. For some of you, it's going to be about you might become more interested in where it is that you came from, right? So related to working with your ancestry in some way, right? Maybe it's your genealogy, maybe it's your family history. Maybe you are trying to honor the traditions that shaped you from your early childhood. And definitely investments in real estate are likely as well. Some Aries are risings are this is their year to buy land, to invest in property, to create some kind of a home-based business maybe. Dates I want to call out for you, June 9th through July 15th, right? Where that early wave of energy, that's a great time to really set some intentions around your home goals from October to November of this year. So in the fall, Jupiter's going to be slowing down, stationing retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer. So some plans are going to start to stall or possibly need some kind of revision around that time, especially if you're dealing with property or some kind of a caregiver role. And then in March of 26, Jupiter's going to move direct again, 15 degrees of Cancer, and that will likely bring you the green light that says, hey, all those decisions that were stalled are now going to be moving forward, right? Especially next up, we have Taurus and Taurus rising. Expansion through communication, learning, and everyday life for you. Your voice is going to carry much further this year, right? What you say, teach, or write can really shape your world. Jupiter moving through the third house of communication, learning, transportation. It's also those close-knit relationships like your siblings and your neighbors. This transit expands your mental world and possibly even your literal daily world as well. Now, whether you are looking at maybe launching some kind of a podcast, maybe some of you are working on writing a book, some of you might just be finding your voice through everyday life. Jupiter here is bringing some confidence and some clarity. You might finally be saying what you have been holding back from in the past, or you are potentially gaining a platform to say that thing even louder. Some of you might be looking at using this time to pursue some certifications, maybe a return to school. Maybe you want to start teaching something that you have mastered, right? So we're looking at workshops, writing, maybe mentoring could be some major areas of growth for you. Now, Jupiter rules travel as well. So in the third house, this could mean that there's a car upgrade coming. For some of you, it might be a relocation to a better neighborhood. Others of you might be looking at some new job that changes your daily routine and your commute as well. Now, your relationships with your siblings, your cousins, your neighbors might be undergoing some kind of reconnection or healing. There's new dynamics happening there, especially if there has been some kind of friction here in the past. Or maybe some sort of a misunderstanding. You can definitely expect to invest in something that really upgrades how you move through your day, whether that's a car, a phone, a laptop, maybe it's some kind of a calendar system. It's really helping you to think faster or to get places easier, right? That's Jupiter approved. Dates for you to watch out for from June 9th until about the 15th of July. These are the early days when Jupiter's in Cancer here. So perfect time to initiate some kind of writing project, buy some sort of technology that you need, enroll in a course if you are looking at that. Around the October-November timeframe, you're going to be looking at Jupiter stationing retrograde 25 degrees of Cancer. So you might revisit a sibling issue that's going on. Maybe you are trying to rework a message that you'd like to deliver. Maybe you are taking a break from a course in order to get clearer on why you started it in the first place, right? It's review time during retrograde. And then around the March timeframe of 2026, Jupiter will be stationing direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, and you might be looking at some sort of a publishing opportunity around that time. There could be maybe a breakthrough in that you have with a neighbor or one of your siblings. You could also finally be saying, you know what, I'm going to send that thing, right? That's something that's been in the works for many months now. You're just going to do it. All right, good luck to you, Taurus. All right, and then we have Gemini and Gemini rising. Gemini, we are expanding through money, security, and our self-worth, because value isn't just what you have, it's how you treat yourself with what you already hold. Now, Jupiter is highlighting your second house of money, possessions, and earned income, right? It's also self-worth. This is a grounded, materially focused part of the chart. So Jupiter brings that potential for some serious upgrades in your finances, also in your confidence. Now, some of you might be looking at maybe landing a new job around this time, right? Maybe you are getting a raise. Maybe you discover that there is more, there's a more sustainable way to make money for yourself. If you've been freelancing, maybe this could be the year where you stabilize your income. Maybe you decide to ask for more than you have been in terms of payment. And you do that with a little bit of confidence. Jupiter expands what it touches, and in the second house here, it really often starts with the relationship that we have to money. So this transit could help some of you shift from a sort of scarcity mindset to thinking more building long-term wealth and doing that with some intention. Some of you might start to invest in items that really enhance your comfort, right? Things that you value or that you feel bring you value. Maybe it's within your home even. So I'm thinking things like new furniture, family heirlooms. Maybe it's additional property altogether. Some Gemini risings could really be even launching a business that's tied to some sort of physical goods or services around this time. Now, what's important to remember is that it's not really about the money. It's more about how you value yourself during this transit. And Jupiter here can help you to outgrow the people, possibly jobs, or maybe beliefs that have kept your confidence small for some reason, right? Like it's part of that holding back. You might also start studying around this time about wealth building. Maybe that's looking again at real estate or finding some sort of practical skill that really enhances your earnings and your earning power in some way. So think like budgeting tools or investment courses. Maybe some of you are looking at hiring a financial coach or a financial advisor. Dates to watch for around this transit. So June 9th to July 15th, early phases of Jupiter moving into Cancer here. So we've got a really great time for manifesting new sources of income, maybe setting some financial goals for yourself, or even making some kind of value-based purchases if you need to. Around the October to November timeframe, Jupiter is going to station retrograde. This is likely to bring delays or even second thoughts around money. This could be a really good time for you to refine your strategy or to renegotiate any sort of terms that you have in the financial world. And then lastly, on the around March of 2026, Jupiter is going to station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So that's the final sort of financial green light to go, if you will. An investment, maybe it's a raise, could be some kind of a personal milestone, something that affirms this value that you've been sort of building for yourself all year. You're likely to see that around then. Best of luck to you, Gemini. Then next up, we have Cancer and Cancer rising. Cancer, this is some personal expansion for you. Jupiter in your first house here, new identity, self-confidence. You are the message here, and this is your year to become more of who you are. Jupiter moving through your first house governs your body, your identity, your style, your energy. It's also the way that you show up in the world. This is a powerful personal reboot. It's a time of growth, visibility, and self-development. All of those things are really working in your favor. Well, some of you might be looking at changing your look overall, shifting your personal brand maybe. Some of you simply just are going to feel a little bit more confident and magnetic, right? Because Jupiter is sort of assisting and lighting you up there. This could, maybe it's just new clothes, right? Maybe you want to change your name even. There could be just a stronger voice coming out of you, right? To the world. Jupiter wants you to take up that space, right? Do it. Now, the first house rules the physical body, so this transit can also sometimes coincide with improved health, strength, and motivation. The motivation to really take better care of yourself. If you've been working on doing some kind of physical healing, Jupiter definitely will bring momentum to that. Some of you are going to also feel inspired to begin something completely brand new, right? It's a solo project, it's a business. There's some sort of personal journey that really reflects your true nature now. Jupiter is helping you to believe in that path for yourself, right? Even if others don't see it yet, that's not the point. They don't need to. A lot of times they're just going to muck it up anyway. Okay. You might be called to lead, to speak up. You might want to represent something that's very meaningful to you around this time. It doesn't really matter whether it's work or community, definitely probably something online. Your presence has a real impact. So Jupiter in your sign is supporting you to have courage and to trust in your instincts, right? This is the year for you to choose your own path. Even if that means outgrowing some of the relationships or roles, maybe even expectations, right? Those things that don't fit anymore are going to fall away. Dates to watch for: June 9th to the middle of July. The first wave of energy moving into Cancer. So it's ideal for some personal declarations of some sort, right? Being visible or launching something that really centers you. October to November of 2025, Jupiter stations retrograde at 25 degrees. So you might be reevaluating your personal goals around that time, right? You might be reevaluating that appearance or that identity shift that you made, right? Just slowly move through that process. Don't rush it is the only message here. March of 2026, Jupiter moves direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. And this is going to bring you some kind of personal clarity, right? And likely even some outside affirmation that this path that you're on is really working for you, right? This is who I am now. This is what the moment feels like for you. Best of luck to you. And next up we have Leo and Leo rising. Leo, for you, this expansion is behind the scenes. It's dealing with rest, healing, and spiritual growth. Sometimes the biggest growth happens when no one else is watching. Now, Jupiter in your 12th house, this is the growth, right? It's not loud, it's internal, it's spiritual, it's very often hidden. This is a powerful year of rest for you, of healing, of clearing out what's been blocking you from energetically or emotionally moving forward. It's also about preparing for a bigger cycle that begins when Jupiter enters Leo next year, right? And ta-da, is in your first house. So go back and listen to Cancer. All right. Some of you are likely to be experiencing around this time some need for spiritual retreat, right? It's going to be a really excellent time to look at or get into some therapy if that's something that you have been thinking about or interested in. You could also, again, be looking at a spiritual retreat. You could be doing some sort of dream work. Some sort of introspective practices are taking up space in your life. You're being offered this chance to shed emotional baggage and to finally make peace with what's behind you. The 12th house connects to the divine unseen, and you might feel really drawn to some mystical practices, maybe art, music, or some sort of compassionate work, right, that helps uplift others in some way. Pay attention to any downloads that might be coming through, signs that you see, dreams with messages and information. They can really take hold and provide the keys to your future path. Now, you might be building something that's really important behind the scenes, like writing a book. Maybe you are healing from some level of burnout that you've suffered. Maybe you are preparing to make some kind of shift in your career. But what Jupiter is saying here is don't underestimate the power of this incubation time you have. Private growth is going to equal some sort of future success for you. You might feel called to step back, right? Because we're in the 12th house and it's hidden, and that's kind of how we feel. We just want to pause and retreat a little bit from the social circles and the public roles. And it's not about disappearing, right? It's about renewing your energy and regathering your strength before you take that next big debut, right? Of the Jupiter in your first house, right? And allowing yourself the time to do that and have that. Jupiter here helps you really clear some unresolved karma as well, especially from relationships, some maybe past life patterns, some kind of long-standing spiritual contracts or expectations, right? You might find that there's this surprising sense of grace, right, as certain chapters just close out naturally in your life. All right, from June 9th to July 15th. Excellent window here to set some quiet intentions, let go, forgive, make peace with your past. October to November of 2025, Jupiter's going to retrograde 25 degrees of Cancer. So it's going to pull you inward again, and you might be revisiting some old wounds during this time. You could be completing some sort of a spiritual practice. You might be looking at dealing with some kind of a psychological process. You might be seeing the results of all that behind the scenes effort that you've been putting in. March of 2026, Jupiter will then move direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So it's restoring your faith, right, in the unseen. And you're probably going to feel really deeply clear in terms of your spirituality, right? You're going to have that long rest chapter there, and you're going to prepare for that next big wave of momentum that is happening when Jupiter enters Leo. All right, best of luck to you, Leo. And next up we have Virgo rising. Welcome, Virgo. You are expanding in your network, your dreams, and your house of future visions. So your future is really calling here, and it's time to connect with the people who help you to build it. Jupiter is lighting up your 11th house of community, friendships, and long-term goals. Also, your social alliances here. So this is one of the most forward-looking areas of the chart, and Jupiter's presence here says dream bigger, connect wider, and really start layering in that groundwork for what it is to come next. Now, you could be meeting some new friends, allies, mentors around this time. some people who really to help open up some doors that didn't exist before. Your network is likely to grow, and so does your reach, right? Who you're able to get in contact with from previous. Now, for some, this is going to be a year where your circle of influence really expands significantly. This is a really great time to launch some sort of vision project that you have. If you have a long-term goal or some kind of a passion-based business that is really aligned with your deeper values, Jupiter is supporting taking some bold steps toward your ideal future, right? Those things are very likely to still be in the planning stage, and that's okay. You have support here to move forward. You might be joining some sort of an organization, trying to lead a team, getting involved in a cause that really matters to you. So more group related here, right? Think like global impact, or even just acting locally, right? Like that can be a group community project as well. That's sort of the vibe here. Jupiter's bringing some growth when you plug in with a collective mission, if you will. Now, the 11th house rules technology and also social platforms. So this could be a really strong year for launching like a podcast, maybe expanding your online presence. Maybe it's about growing your digital audience, right? Especially around topics that you can teach about. Maybe it's about helping others, or there's some kind of community-centered work going on. The 11th house is sometimes called the house of wishes as well, and Jupiter loves to deliver, doesn't he? So if there's like this dream that you've been holding on to, especially when it's tied to contribution or collaboration in some way, in this 11th house we're talking about, this is the year that you might bring some real momentum to that. Dates to watch for: June 9th through the middle of July the 15th. Opportunities to join new groups, to attend events, to launch some kind of a dream project are going to appear around that time. So pay attention to who's showing up in your life. October to November of 2025, Jupiter will retrograde 25 degrees of Cancer. Might bring some reevaluations of your friendships and or your goals. Maybe a group project hits sort of pause or pivots in some way. I would say don't give up on the bigger vision, sort of work through those challenges if it's something meaningful to you. And then March of 2026, Jupiter goes direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So it's green light territory again. Maybe there's a major collaboration. Maybe you bring a friend into your life and that person kind of changes everything for you. For some of you, it's going to be about doing some long-term planning to finally, sort of come together with a group. Best of luck to you. All right, then next up we have Libra rising, and Libra, welcome. Hope you are well. You are experiencing some career growth, maybe some public recognition. Possibly you are building on your legacy, right? You're stepping into the spotlight, and it's time to expand your impact and maybe claim that space that you have there at the top. Jupiter is transiting your 10th house of career, leadership, reputation, long-term achievements, right? This is a major transit when it comes to professional growth. So whether you're climbing a ladder, you're starting something on your own, right? Maybe you're shifting directions entirely within your career. Jupiter's going to bring you that momentum, that visibility, and that opportunity that you're looking for. Some of you might get a promotion around this time. Maybe you take on a completely new role. Some of you are going to feel called to start your own business, right? Jupiter brings these bold moves here, and Libra risings, these moves are very public for you. So don't be surprised if your name kind of starts to circulate in new spaces. Others might see you as kind of someone with a vision and wisdom around this time. You might be managing a team. You might be setting trends in your industry in some way, but you're being positioned as sort of someone that others look up to. That's kind of what this looks like, right? Take that very seriously and don't be afraid to kind of rise to the occasion, right? And fill that role. Now, if for any reason your current path feels a little bit stale, then this is definitely the year that, you're going to dream up that new legacy, whatever that is. Jupiter's going to bring some inspiration to you, right? He is going to inspire you to pivot into something that really aligns with your deeper values, especially around care, maybe emotional intelligence, maybe some sort of creative contribution that you want to make to the world. This is a strong year for awards as well, right? Jupiter up here at the top of your chart. It could also be media attention. You could just be noticed within your, current position for your contributions and all that you've achieved, right? You've been working really hard towards something. Jupiter really helps you here to kind of spotlight those efforts that you've made. The 10th house can also bring changes in your role as a parent or a mentor or a leader as well. So you might find yourself taking on some new responsibilities at home, maybe in the world as well, right? But it's not that you're not ready, right? You're more than ready, that's for sure. Dates to watch out for: June 9th through middle of July. A surge of sort of visibility or opportunity is available to you. And this could be that time for you to pitch a project. Maybe you apply for a role you've been desiring. Maybe you decide to launch something out into the world. October to November of 2025, Jupiter is going to retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer. So this is likely to bring a reassessment of your goals or your reputation. You're dealing with some pressure here from the public eye, so I just recommend taking the time to realign whatever that time that looks like and means for you. March 2026, then Jupiter will station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, and it's going to help you set some kind of new trajectory, right? Career wins, maybe it's a legacy moment, right? Something's going to emerge around that time. All right, best of luck to you, Libra. And now we have Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Welcome to you. You have expansion going on through your education, travel, and life philosophy. So your world is getting bigger. And this is your invitation to seek more, to learn more, and to live with meaning. Now, Jupiter's moving through your 9th house. It's the domain of higher education, foreign travel, publishing, spirituality. It's also about your life philosophy or life philosophies. This is an incredibly potent transit for growth on really nearly every level, right? It's especially if you have felt kind of boxed in or maybe uncertain about your future path in some way. You might find yourself questioning what it is that you believe, what you are pursuing, or maybe where you want to go next in this life, right? Jupiter encourages you to zoom out and think long term, right? A new dream or a new mission is going to take hold. Now, this is a classic transit also for long distance travel, for immigration matters, even for moving abroad, possibly, right? Maybe it's a spiritual retreat as well, or an academic program. Could also just be a dream trip that you have been wanting to take. Whatever it is here, you're going to be called out and, you're going to be called out of your comfort zone to sort of move into that space. Now, if you have been considering higher education, perhaps this is definitely your sign to do that. It's a really powerful time to publish something, to teach something, to mentor others on a topic. You might also become a student, right? You might become the student or the guide. Both are supported here. Depending on what is unfolding in your chart, the 9th house is the house of meaning. So some of you could be deepening your spiritual path. Maybe you are aligning with a new teacher or a new kind of teaching. Maybe you are starting work to do more conscious manifestation, right? Maybe you are thinking about astrology even, right? What you learn now really has the potential to kind of shape your worldview, and that's sort of the point. Now, if you have for any reason been navigating something related to, legal documentation, maybe citizenship, maybe long distance partnership, this transit is really going to offer you that progress, some sort of breakthrough, especially around that retrograde and direct motion timeframes. So dates for you to watch for: June 9th to July 15th. Ideal time to make travel plans, to apply for some programs, to even begin studies that really stretch you intellectually and spiritually. October to November of 2025, Jupiter will retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer, so that might bring some delays in paperwork or the need for you to revisit plans around international travel that you had intended or planned, right? Could also be around school or publishing. 2026, March. This is when Jupiter is going to station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So there'll be some forward momentum that returns around that time, right? Final decisions can be made, and those new philosophies are kind of click into place around this time. All right. Best of luck to you, Scorpio. Next up, we have Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. Welcome. I hope you are well, Sagittarius. Expansion is happening through intimacy, shared resources, and possibly inner transformation for you. Real growth begins when you stop avoiding the hard stuff. And this year, you are definitely going to rise by going deep. All right, Jupiter is lighting up your 8th house. So this is where we deal with emotional depth, shared finances, inheritance. It's also energetic entanglements, right? So intimacy, personal transformations. It's one of the most sort of misunderstood parts of the chart, but it's also a very powerful one as well. Now, you can gain access to new sources of money, right? Through, maybe it's your partner's income, maybe it's through some sort of investments, maybe it's loans, inheritances, right? Maybe there are some business funds. Joint ventures and co-owned assets are likely to expand or shift drastically during this time. Jupiter is offering the opportunity here to get ahead of debt, taxes or obligations that have probably weighed you down pretty heavily, right? Financial literacy becomes really empowering to you, and it's a strong year to maybe refinance, consolidate, or come clean with yourself about your money patterns and what needs to change there. Now, the 8th house brings you face to face with fear, loss, or maybe it's a past trauma. But Jupiter wants you to heal, right? It doesn't want you to hide. So if you're willing to be vulnerable in your closest relationships, then breakthroughs in trust and emotional safety are definitely possible. Now, for some Sag risings, this is going to be a deeply healing time for either sexuality, maybe body image, maybe it's intimacy struggles. You might rediscover that your desires are maybe healing from those past wounds have really kept you from moving forward emotionally or physically, right? Holding on to those things has really kind of shut you down or held you down. Well, this is one of the houses of astrology, of energy work, of mysticism, right? So you might explore mediumship, you might be looking into some sort of psychic arts, you might be exploring the tarot, right? Whatever it is that you're going through on this spiritual sort of death and rebirth, there's this experience that's cracking your heart, right? And it's going to be wide open. So just know that that's coming for you. All right, dates for you to watch for: June 9th through July 15th. Here we have some strong momentum for financial alignment, vulnerability breakthroughs, or diving really deep into some kind of healing work. October to November of 2025, Jupiter will station retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer, and this might stir up some kind of financial entanglements or maybe some emotional baggage for you. You might be revisiting some kind of unresolved matters with your partners or maybe with financial lenders. March of 2026, Jupiter will station direct at 15 degrees Cancer. It's going to bring you some kind of resolution, some clarity. It's green light energy here to move forward in relationships and finances with confidence and integrity. Good luck to you, Scorpio. Good luck to you, Sagittarius. All right, next up we have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Capricorn expansion through relationships, contracts, and collaboration. You've been strong on your own, definitely. Now life asks you, who do you trust and who do you grow with? Jupiter's moving through your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. This includes your romantic partners, it's your business collaborations, it's all your clients, your contracts, it's even your rivals. It's the house of mirroring, right? And this year, who you attract reflects how far you've come and how ready you are to expand through connection. This is one of the best transits for meeting someone significant if you happen to be single. Maybe for deepening a bond if you're already partnered. Jupiter really supports growth through commitment, right? Through mutual respect and emotional safety. So if the relationship that you have is aligned or that you're starting is aligned, it grows, right? If not, it's probably going to just peacefully exit, and that's fine. This is also a really fantastic year to collaborate or expand your client base. So the one-on work is really blessed during this time, right? Especially if you are maybe a coach, maybe you're a consultant, maybe you're a therapist, right? You practice law. Any kind of a service-based business is going to do really well under this transit. Jupiter often brings luck in our legal and our contractual matters as well. So you could win a case. Maybe you settle a dispute, right? And it's probably going to be to your favor. Finalize some kind of agreement, and that also is going to be favorable, especially when everybody's being honest. And that is part of the key. But this is really your opportunity to release some old beliefs also about love, trust, and fairness, because Jupiter helps you recognize when you are being too guarded or maybe too accommodating. This year asks you to raise the bar in terms of your partnerships without really raising your walls. Sometimes Jupiter brings people into your life who feel fated. They may help you to grow. They might challenge you in some sort of productive way. Some of them might offer you the kind of support that you didn't realize you even needed, right? Regardless, new relationships coming in, give that your attention. Now, dates to watch for: June 9th to July 15th. New connections, romantic shifts, contracts. These things are going to show up very quickly for you. This is a window here of fresh relationship momentum, so use it. October to November, Jupiter's going to retrograde, and that might bring either some past partners back into your life or maybe some unresolved issues, right? They're going to come back into view. Don't rush through any decisions. Clarity is going to come sort of in layers here, so just wait for that. March of 2026, Jupiter stations direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So here you can affirm that key relationship is really ready to evolve. You're going to know that around that point, or you're going to say, yeah, no, I've already grown way past this. It doesn't matter which way it goes, right? This is the graduation moment around spring of 2026. Best of luck to you, Capricorn. All right, and then we have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Aquarius, expansion for you happens through work, health, and your daily rhythm. So your habits are kind of the heartbeat of your future, and Jupiter wants you to upgrade that system. Jupiter's moving through your 6th house. This rules your daily routines, wellness, and workload. It's also your pets and how you manage your responsibilities, right? Not really flashy astrology happening here. It's kind of one of the foundations, right? But if you want to build something big, this is kind of where it starts, right? With structure, consistency, and showing up for yourself every single day. All right, for some of you, getting a new job. Maybe you have new clients coming in. There could be a heavier workload. Jupiter here very often brings opportunities to grow professionally, but it comes with a reminder, right? Don't say yes to everything. Your time is valuable, so keep that in mind. This year can also teach you how to delegate or prioritize, maybe streamline your schedule in some way. So if you have been overgiving or you've been disorganized, here comes Jupiter to help you realign that system so that you are serving your energy and not draining it. Jupiter also supports healing, right? Not in excess, right? So watch for any sort of overindulgence, right? The upside here, though, is that you could find a practitioner or maybe a healer or a healing path that truly works for you, right? Maybe it's about nutrition. Maybe it's about movement. Maybe it's about stress management, right? Some kind of a routine here may feel like you found something that's going to be more sustainable for you for this year. Well, some Aquarius risings may pivot toward work from home opportunities, or they might develop some skills that would allow them more emotional freedom during their workday. And Jupiter can really bring in new pets as well, right? More animals or maybe more caregiving responsibilities. If caregiving is part of your love language, be careful with that. You might find joy in showing up for others, right? In those small but also very consistent ways. Dates for you to watch for: June 9th through July 15th. Pace is picking up during that time. So it's work opportunities, it's wellness themes. Those things are going to start to take shape in your world. From October to November of 2025, Jupiter is going to retrograde and bring this chance to really reassess, right? Is your schedule working for you or against you? Pros and cons here. March of 2026, Jupiter direct at 15 degrees of Cancer brings this clear breakthrough, especially if you have been focused on your health, on trying to do some sort of healing, or maybe restructuring your workday. Best of luck to you, Aquarius. All right, next we have Pisces and Pisces rising. Welcome, Pisces. For you, expansion's happening through joy, creativity, and your personal expression, right? Your joy is sacred, and Jupiter really wants you to multiply it. Now, with Jupiter moving through your 5th house, this is heart first year, right? That 5th house rules creativity, romance, children if you have them, fun, and self-expression. Now, when Jupiter lands here, life really wants you to play more. It wants you to create more. It wants you to connect more deeply with all those things that light you up. This is one of the most inspired transits for artists, for musicians, for writers, right? Creators of all kind, really, right? You might take on a new project. Maybe you finally gain some kind of recognition for your talents in a current creative project. If creativity hasn't really been a focus for you, then you might just find overall that your voice is, you're connected with it this year. A new relationship could also bloom. Or maybe there's an existing relationship that goes a little bit deeper with more emotional honesty, maybe also more fun. Jupiter really helps let that love in, but also to define what feels like love, right? Not just what looks good, what sounds good, what takes a nice picture, but what it is that feels like love. This transit can also bring pregnancy for some, adoption possibly if that's something that you're looking at, right? These are important chapters maybe in your child's life. Especially if you are, looking at, if you already are a parent, of course it's in your child's life, but if you're looking at becoming a parent, this is probably the transit when you're going to feel the most in terms of being connected with wanting to have a child or making that decision not to. Now, regardless of what it is, right, it's birthing something new, right, something meaningful. So if it's not a child, that's fine. It's an idea. It's a business. It's some sort of renewed sense of play just for yourself. And that's perfectly in line too. Now, the 5th house reminds you that Joy isn't selfish at all, right? You're going to be called to heal some kind of old programming that says, you know, you've got to earn your pleasure before you actually take it. That's not true. Jupiter says you deserve to feel good because you are alive, and that's the only reason that you need. All right. So you might be on the stage a little bit more. That's metaphorically or literally, it doesn't matter. But this is a year where you are going to be sharing your gifts. You're going to be telling your story, and you're going to be standing out when it comes to having greater ease and receptivity with who you are. So don't shy away from this visibility coming up for you. Dates to watch for: June 9th to July 15th. This is a creative surge, right? Maybe it's a very romantic beginning, but it's gonna kind of catch fire here during this first wave of the ingress. Then October to November of 2025, Jupiter's going to retrograde. So it's going to invite you back to ask, hey, are you having fun? You know, are you enjoying this? Are you overthinking it? And then March of 2026, Jupiter is going to go direct again at 15 degrees of Cancer. So that's going to bring you some clarity around your creative and your romantic path. So a blessing, maybe. Something is going to be delivered to you around this time that says you are really nurtured from the heart. So lean